Well, greetings everyone. Just from me this morning. Kit Kat was here, but he's actually spent the whole night sleeping in because of the rain and oh gosh, I have a large cockroach approaching. Okay, move along. Go on. So he's gone out to do his business. So I'm going to continue without him for a while, and he'll possibly pop in just now. So let's see. Right, where are we? Where are we with this piece? Let me just start with some light scribble. So it's been raining quite heavily. Oh, there's Kit Kat. Hello. He's come to say, oh, hello. Say hello. Oh, here we go. Say hello to everyone. Hello, everyone. Oh, okay. There he is. Are you coming to settle down again? There we go. Okay. Yes, so it's been raining quite heavily and consistently the whole night long. Obviously, widespread flooding damage. As I was saying yesterday, stormwater drainage not holding up. So, well, is holding up. It's not siphoning off the water. So we're finding a lot of ground saturation, roads blocked up, and of course the informal settlements are those that are hit the hardest because of their they don't have foundations and they're built on unstable ground, and so the rains come and everything gets eroded away from underneath them. Yeah, it's quite tragic when this happens to this degree, when it rains like this, just for constantly for 3 or 4 days. So you end up with problems, don't we? A little bit of blue, I think, now. Here and there. Dark blue, sort of indigo. I just want a wee bit. Yeah. Also just want to slot in a little bit of pale green, not quite as minty green as the pepperminty green as the other one, but close. And I just wanted to do to put a little bit in there. As over here. So what I'm trying to do really is capture the essence of the what is really just reflected light. The color of the water is determined by the sky above. for the most part, except for certain little spots where you can actually see into the wave, for example, without the influence of reflections from the sky above. But in general, the appearance of the water is much more of that sort of jade bluey kind of pepperminty sort of colouring, and I'm trying to keep it as subtle as possible in terms of the hues that I'm using. Huey Lewis in the news. So just trying to keep it to within or rather than hues, rather tints. So I'm trying to keep the tints within a fairly short range of one another. Of course, there are some heavier, darker areas of contrast, but the basis of this, from white to the from the whites to the colors, very little in terms of variation. So they're almost very similar in tonal value. So here I'm just adding a little bit of pale powder blue, baby blue, and just allowing it to just skim along the surface. Very light touch here. I'll do the same with the peppermint green. Because although there are very similar tints, there's quite a number of colours in here. So I'm going to be doing the same with the peppermint green, the darker peppermint green, with the lilacs, and then with the slightly darker blues, just for that variation, you know, that in the water surface, the different facets and what have you. So even though this is quite a simple piece in its execution, there are a number of there's quite a number of sort of nuances of colour and shade and textures and so on, trying to bring in here, but subtly so. And then of course when I'm nearing completion, might be today, might be tomorrow, and then I'll start to bring in line work, white line work, white conte, and then of course a little bit of acrylic. But for now, just keeping it very subtle, very subtle. sitting there like that? Eh? You're sitting there like a sphinx. What is this? You can see I'm just holding the end of the pastel, so I'm not pushing, I'm not holding it up here and trying to get as much, pushing hard to get a lot of coverage. I'm just letting it tickle the surface so that I have no leverage on this piece. I've got on this pastel, so that it just kind of strokes off in very subtly. So I'm trying to work now with the very subtle cross hatching that appears in the sand as the previous wave that's just rushed up the beach, as it drains back. It leaves this mesh of little furrows. I'm trying to just work on the highlights of those furrows by doing a sort of a cross hatching, and of course this is just the basis of it. Let's just do this one direction for now, one direction. And then the other way. Alright, that's the undertone. And now I'm going to start bringing in a little bit of the browns that I'm looking for. And where are you? Where art thou? Where's that particular brown that I was looking for? Not you, but you'll do. Where's the other one? Ah, that's the one. I'll bring it a bit later. So now I'm going to be introducing some brown, and it's quite a smoky brown, not a very dark brown, but sort of a mid-tone. and it's again, I'm hardly even scratching the surface with it, and just laying it down little by little by little. So almost, I can hardly even see the difference, but it does build. Here's the rain building again. Heavier and heavier, just been consistent, non-stop. And it comes and goes, and its intensity has done so the whole night long. Right, so let's try the other one for now. In fact, let's just go with a little bit of darker brown here on the edges. Kit Kat has now assumed the bread loaf position. Again, I'm just using like a feather touch with this, because I don't want any of the colours to be too intense. It's quite a what can I say, minimalistic in terms of its colour use. Right, and now, just a little bit of the slightly lighter, sort of almost a tan brown. As you know, I don't stand on ceremony when it comes to using the correct names of colours. I don't know them. Simple as that. I just don't know them. They don't really matter. I just use whatever comes to mind. So all of these colours now are starting to blend nicely. So the pale blue with the lighter brown, with the darker brown, and now this sort of almost terracotta. No, it's not terracotta. I shall use a sort of a brick colour shortly. It's almost terracotta, so between the two, but they're all working now together to create this semblance of the colour of this colour and form of this saturated soil as the previous wave washes back to join up with that one incoming. Right, so that's enough of that. Don't want to overkill, so now it's a little bit of this brick coloured red brick colour. And you know what red bricks look like. Yes, that's it. That's it. Okay. And you'll notice that I've been following this kind of a spread of the lines running out, and then down, and then out that way. So there's like almost there's a focusing in on this area here, which is essentially my focal point that I'm going to be working up. In fact, it's almost right there where this darker spot is. So almost what I'm doing is allowing the eye, guiding the eye in towards this focal point, but not such that it is detracting from other little details along the way, because I want to keep the eye engaged in the piece. Well, that's the theory anyway. That's the plan, Stan. So now I'm going to bring in my eraser and just bring these colors together with little flecks. I don't want to blend it too much, so what the eraser does, it just creates these nice little lines. It also pulls the colors together. In fact, no, the eraser can create those little furrows that I'm looking for as well. Can help with that. Yes. And now a little bit more charcoal work here. No, wait. What I want to do is just bring in some of this sort of a lilac blue. Again, it's purely a light feather touch here and there. I need it to remain very subtle in its treatment, otherwise if I get too heavy-handed, then it won't blend nicely. I always want to maintain that. See, I want to even pull in some blue into these areas, some lilac. Because we do have this sort of grey sky reflected, even in this damp area, damp soil, because it does reflect the light from above in its undulations. I do need to capture that. Right, and then some powder blue. Very pale blue here. So apparently, according to the weather apps, I should say, more than one app is forecasting full sun for later on this morning. It's almost impossible to grasp, but who knows? It can change on it has been forecasting that for some days now, and it still maintains that. So I don't know. Maybe they know something I don't. In fact, they do know things that I don't, of course. That's why they studied meteorology, did they not? There must be something to the science and the calculations. But what I know about is the moods of the oceans. Depicting the moods of the oceans, that's my thing. Depicting them, mind you, not anticipating them or predicting them. As something I was talking about whenever it was, I think it might have been last week sometime, and I was talking about how us human beings have lost touch with our intuition, our sixth sense, and whereas other animals, virtually every single other animal in the animal kingdom has completely and utterly, every single day, all the time, uses intuition to its fullest. Call it intuition, call it instinct, call it sixth sense, however you want to label it. But the little story that I was relating was regarding the turtle that had set out from the Great Barrier Reef and headed out across the Pacific in the direction of the mid-Pacific Islands, and all of a sudden, halfway across, I don't know how many, a good 2,000 kilometers, I think, something like that, maybe more, maybe less, but it suddenly did a U-turn, and it was a day or so before the volcanic eruptions in Tonga, but which was still another 1,000, 2,000 kilometers further on, and yet it picked up on this and chose another direction. Even with all the signals that are there for us, we would still continue to push on forward, notwithstanding, and that's our downfall, isn't it? Where we are so pig-headed and we move forward based on our assumptions of stuff. We move forward based on not on what is presented to us, what is staring us in the face, but what is already past, what is behind us, our experiences and all of that, and we make our assumptions and assessments and calculations and analyze everything to the hilt, and still we take the dumbass approach. Not so the rest of the animal kingdom. And why don't we learn from them? Why do we never do it sometimes? Why does even aeronautics, engineers in the simulation of wind effect on a wing of an aeroplane and aerodynamics and so on, why do they use, like, for example, they look at an owl in terms of how it can fly with absolute silence. So they look at nature. This is science now. This is science and technology at the highest level. They're looking at nature to find the solutions in terms of stealth technology and all of this kind of thing. It's all there. It's already been there for millions of years, and yet we cannot tap into our intuition. It's crazy when you think about it, hey? It's like, why do we build homes in areas that are very clearly going to be prone to landslides and sinkholes and this and that and that, and but we don't get this, we don't pick up on the signals, and then devastation. Oh my goodness. We never saw that coming. And yet it happens every bloody year. And I still don't get it. Sorry, I'm using now a kind of a yellowy olive paint color. So pastel. Just again for a little bit of a change in hue. Just brings in that subtle dimensionality of the use of color here. Again, it just assists in creating form, and only in this area, because over there is a different perspective. As your eye moves toward, from the foreground to the horizon, that trajectory of the eye changes the light visually for you. So I'm trying to work that in, and I'm just kind of working intuitively excuse me, in terms of feeling this piece, feeling what I feel that I might see. And even though it's not, I mean, I've got a little rough sketch reference image here, but that doesn't show in terms of the color using it. That's just a basic, a very basic reference, just like I say. Right, I think that's enough of that. And now I'm going to bring in some of my some darker blue for starters. Let's bring in this. Ooh, this lovely almost violet. You wonder why the color isn't doesn't mention the color. They could educate me, these pastel people, but sadly not. I just want to introduce a little bit of this violet here and there. It's a lovely sort of pulsating color. It just has that intensity and almost luminosity that, with sparing use, does punch out rather nicely where it is touching the surface here. And again, I'm using it very sparingly, very subtly, and just the merest hint of it, a subtle hint. There, like that. Just a bit in there. That'll do. And then this kind of pale lilac, just to offset that a little bit. This is my hero color for this piece. Really now brings out the jade. And like I said previously, I'm only using it pretty much predominantly in this little band over here. That's enough of that for now. And then I want, there's another little, there's that blue, pale turquoise as well. And now with the eraser. Oh wait, no. First, a little bit more charcoal here. I want to just pull up the contrast a little bit, just subtly. Oh wait, I wanted to add a little bit of the darker green as well. Where art thou? Where art thou? Let's just use this sort of a bottle green. Again, it's also I'm also using this as a kind of a, just bringing a darker color here for contrast purposes. And it also kind of melds with the dark green and charcoal. Sorry, the dark blue and charcoal, not the dark green. Now I can use my eraser. You know, I would like to complete this piece today, but I have got I want to work with the I want to do some work with the acrylic paint, and I think that I might not quite have enough time for that. I've only got now just less than 15 minutes left, and I don't have to. So I can maybe just slow down a little bit, take my time a little more, stretch it out, and then complete it tomorrow. Let's see how I go now. Now I've got a smudge in my nose. Right, some more charcoal. Just folding in the tonal values down on the extremities. Again, not pushing too hard, not very little pressure, just allowing it to come off as it needs to. Yes, I think I shall complete tomorrow. There's a lot of line work to be worked on with this piece, so I'm going to rather stretch it out and tackle that tomorrow. So a lot of white line that I need to be doing. A lot of doodling, let me put it to you in those terms. That's what I've got to do tomorrow. Just subtleties like this that I'm just add this little darker fleck here and there. Pull up the contrast a little bit in certain areas. So yes, I shall spend the time during the next session and at least the last session working on that. And bringing in my acrylic and what have you. At the same time, I don't like to overwork an artwork. There's a fine line between when it's done, when it's ready, and when it's overworked. So I don't want to fall into that trap either. So rather what I do then is to slow down and to be more observant of the feeling of the piece, the feeling of the atmosphere of the water, of the smells and sounds and all of that. So, as has happened with many previous pieces, the first session it comes together, it evolves quite rapidly, and then as I start to work with the subtleties more, the line work and so on, it then slows down. So what I assumed yesterday, having worked so rapidly with it, I'd assumed that it would be a 2-session piece. Turns out I need more time, which is absolutely fine, isn't it? Absolutely fine. It's coming together rather nicely, I think. Let's bring in some more of this turquoise. Just sort of directional flecks of this colour, just as it perhaps picks up a reflection of the sky above, just giving it also that little bit more texture. Yeah, there's a bit of splash going on over here as well, and so that I'm going to be doing with working in with the acrylic, just to create a little bit more of a playfulness to this otherwise potentially fairly somber piece. So that's the plan, Stan. Let's use my eraser a little bit more. Just keeping half an eye on the time. I tend to otherwise get carried away with something and then I'm out of time. So you'll notice I haven't worked much with this foamy area, or any of these foamy areas really, except I could probably work with this one a little bit, because a lot of its essence is going to come out with the with the use of application of acrylic paint, just white acrylic paint, to create a texture with my little toothbrush tool, and then and also bring up the highlights and contrast, of course. Let's bring in a little bit more white here. Let's see. Time-wise, I've got a couple of minutes left, so I just want to bring this in here. Yeah, this is the now bringing in the white line work that I was talking about earlier on, and this this is what I shall progress with tomorrow. There's a nice balance in the highlight areas as well. So yes, I shall continue with that tomorrow. Meantime, I shall down tools for this session. So thank you for joining. And I hope you've enjoyed or are enjoying the progress of this piece. So yeah, hope you do take care. If you live in Durban, be safe with all of this water everywhere. Be safe on the roads, because you get the puddles which cause aquaplaning and all that sort of stuff. Crazy people out there as well. So yes, oodles and oodles of toodles. So be kind, be gentle, be caring, be loving, etc., etc., and see you again on the morrow. So any new subscribers, thank you for joining. Please hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon, so that you get notifications of any future uploads, which are pretty much daily. Yes, so meantime, take care. See you again soon. Bye. But don't forget to doodle.